Wrap up our ceremony, we are so fortunate to have Mark Lindquist here to share some words of inspiration. Mark J. Lindquist is a nationally recognized motivational speaker and world touring entertainer who has performed live for over 1 million people in 22 countries and 44 states throughout his career. He is also the author of the books Passion, 8 Steps to Find Yours, and Service, My Way of Life. As an actor, he's appeared in ABC's Lost, CBS's Hawaii Five-0, and the Universal Studios movie Battleship. He has performed for Grammy-winning artists, Academy Award-nominated actors, foreign dignitaries around the world, as well as staffers at the White House. Mark is a former sergeant in the United States Air Force and an Afghanistan war veteran who currently lives in Fargo, North Dakota. Join me in welcoming my friend and our wonderful guest speaker, Mark Lindquist.
Thank you, my friends. You know, I got this great life these days. I'm 34 years old, and in my fortunate life, I could tell you all kinds of great stories. I could tell you stories about being an actor. I could tell you stories about acting on Hawaii Five-0 with Grace Park and Scott Conn and Alex O'Loughlin. I could tell you stories about singing in the same karaoke bar as Daniel Day-Kim. I could tell you stories about filming with Universal Studios movie Battleship on the island of Oahu. Filming with them for 21 days and swimming out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean and pulling Rihanna out of the ocean with this hand right here. And I haven't watched it since. I can tell you all kinds of great stories all over the globe about performing in 22 countries and 44 states for over 1 million people throughout my career. But as with every great story, we've got to start at the beginning. You see, my story begins on the other side of the planet, in the second largest city on planet Earth, Seoul, South Korea. And it's so great to be here this evening supporting the good work that's happening here in the inauguration of DCI North Dakota. Because, you see, in my life was touched by people on the other side of the planet. As I spent the first 8 months of my life in an orphanage called Eastern Social Welfare. People that I didn't know, people that probably would never keep up or keep track with me, decided to step up and say, you know what, I'm going to be there for you. A young orphan on the other side of the planet, in the second largest city. Spent the first 8 months of my life there. And then, you see, another group of people stepped up in my life and said, you know what, I'm going to be there for you. They didn't know me. They didn't know anything about me, but they said, you know what, in my life, in the things that I do with my life, just like you, Charlie, just like you said, I've got to step up and I've got to do something for the life of somebody else. For me, it was my parents, Gordon and Diane Lindquist. They were the ones that adopted me. Adopted me at the age of 8 months. Took me from that orphanage in Seoul, South Korea, all the way to a town called Ortonville, Minnesota, 2 hours south of here. And that's where I grew up. And that's where I was given the life that I've been given here today. You see, somebody on the other side of the planet stepped up and said, you know what I'm going to do with my life is I'm going to contribute to the lives of somebody else, and it ended up to be me. The things that I can do in my life, I'm going to make it stand for others. That's what my parents said. And so they adopted me, and they taught me what it was like you, John, being the example. Setting that example of serving others and contributing to the lives of others and spending the time that you have and the gifts that you've been given to show other people the way about how to serve and give back to others. See, that's what my parents did, just like Jolly's doing for everybody here. You see, my parents taught me that the things that really matter in life is that a life well lived is a life spent giving back to those who have given so much to you. So my dad served in the Peace Corps, and my mom, of course, served all around the community, and there was never a fundraiser or an event that was going on here at the school that was not somehow supported by my mother and father and their time and energy and efforts. See, they taught me as a young man, growing up in a small town in the Midwest, that life was supposed to be about service and giving back to others. And so, you know, as I got a little bit older and I started reflecting upon the fortunate nature of my life, the fact that I was so fortunate to have been brought from the other side of the planet and then given this wonderful life here in America, I said, you know what, the years that I live, I'm gonna do my best to contribute to the lives of others. I found a program called AmeriCorps. I don't know if you've heard of AmeriCorps. It's a lot like the Peace Corps. You go out and you serve, maybe you're 18, maybe you're 24 years old or so, and you go out and you serve in communities all over America. You know, maybe we did all kinds of cool things in AmeriCorps. We built houses for Habitat for Humanity. We built playgrounds for inner city school kids. We tutored in inner city schools in AmeriCorps. We even fought wildland fires for the National Park Service. We built trails for the National Park Service as well. And worked in communities all over 13 states in America while I was serving in a program called AmeriCorps. And I'll never forget, when I was about 20 years old, serving in AmeriCorps, doing a full-time national service opportunity, giving back to the lives of others, I found myself in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, building houses for Habitat for Humanity. If you don't know about Habitat for Humanity, they're a great organization that gives a low-interest or a no-interest loan to a qualifying family, and it's not a handout, it's a hand-up. Habitat for Humanity builds houses for those in need all over the planet. We were in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, building this house in 2001 for the DeMare family. The DeMare family story appeared in the Sun Sentinel newspaper down there in South Florida. And see, we were there in the spring building this house for this wonderful family of 5. I'll tell you a little bit about the DeMare family. The DeMare family, mother and father, Sean and Shannon. 3 kids, the oldest, Sean Jr., Olivia, and then a little 4-year-old boy named Dawson. We were building this house for them in South Florida off of A1A with Sunrise Boulevard. And you see, it was early stages of construction. They built them on a cinder block down there. And early stages of construction where the doors hadn't been hung, the windows were not on, the roof was barely sheeted. It was early stages. And see, this is the story of the DeMare family. They were living in South Florida in a 1-bedroom apartment. No air conditioning down there. The mother and father slept in the bedroom, and the 3 kids slept on the floor in the living room. 2 of them got to sleep on bunk beds. There's 3 kids, there's 2 bunk beds. That means that every 3rd night, one of the kids had to sleep on the floor. And that's not the worst situation you probably ever heard of, but I'm just saying it's not ideal for this wonderful family. You know, if you're a kid and you have to sleep on the floor every 3rd night, I don't know, maybe you don't want to have your friends over for play dates. Maybe you're embarrassed to do that. I'm just saying that situation is not ideal, right? It could be better. So we were building this house for the DeMare family in South Florida. And one day, the mother, Shannon, pulled up to the work site where we were finishing up our duties. Remember, it's early stages of construction with the stud walls on the inside. You could see from one end of the building, you could look all the way through the other, through the stud walls and the sawdust. And one day, Shannon, the mother, pulled up to that work site in her car. Little Dawson, 4 years old, runs out in the car, sees me and says, "Hey, Mark, come here." Grabs my hand. And he runs up to the front of this house, and we run down what is going to be a hallway. We stand at the edge of that house at what is going to be the threshold of a bedroom. And little 4-year-old Dawson grabs my hand and says, "Hey, Mark, look at this. This is going to be my room. And I get 2 windows." Little 4-year-old Dawson, standing in the corner of a house in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, looks up at me and says, "Hey, Mark, this is going to be my room. And I get 2 windows." I was 20 years old when I was out there serving in communities in AmeriCorps, doing my best to contribute to the lives of others. And I got to look into a 4-year-old boy's eyes, and I got to see what hope looked like. You see, for that little 4-year-old boy, man, imagine the world that little Dawson will see now looking out those 2 windows. See, because now he's not only got a house, he's got a place that he can call a home. And as I looked at that young boy when I was 20 years old, that was 14 years ago. On the highlight reel of my life, when I look back at all the things that I've done and the places that I've traveled and the people that I've impacted, that's going to be on my highlight reel. I'm going to look back at that moment and say, all right, at the time in my life, Maria, when I was going to extend myself in the name of others and extend myself to the service of others, to contribute to the life of people around me, then I got to have that experience. I'll never forget that experience. I'll never forget that little boy. Chances are that little boy won't forget us either. You see, because as I've lived, I've decided that there's a few things that are important in life. Chief among them is what's happening here tonight. People who gather together and say, you know what? The things that I do and the time that I have, I'm going to contribute to the lives of others. We're here in the name of your Son tonight. What a wonderful way to honor him. What a wonderful way to take what could otherwise be a tragedy and from here on out, make it something that you can celebrate. See, because I believe that the work that will be done here by all of Sreejon's peers and all the people that love him, I believe that the work that will be done here, man, you're going to get to contribute to the lives of others. Maybe it's going to be a young Dawson. Maybe it's going to be somebody that you maybe never hear from again. Maybe it'll be somebody on the other side of the planet. Where you can step up and say, you know what? I'm going to go back to that table. And I'm going to give them my information. I don't know what kind of adventures they have for me. I don't know what kind of tasks they have for me. But at least I'm going to reach out, and I'm not just going to say that I'm going to do it. No. I'm going to walk over there, and I'm going to sponsor a backpack for a kid. I'm going to sponsor a child for the $15 a month. See, because you don't know what kind of impact could be on the other end of those efforts. 30, 40 years ago, somebody stood up and said, you know what, I don't know this kid named, my name was Sung Joon Park. I don't know him. I don't know what kind of life he'll lead. But there were two people in my life who said, I'm going to contribute to his life. A lot like what you'll do through DCI. Imagine the impact, the generational impact that your son will have through this organization. See, I think that this is what a wonderful way to celebrate his life. So my friends, I just ask you that the great things that are going on here this evening through DCI, the great things that our friends are doing here in this community to leave a greater legacy, I believe it's our opportunity. No. I believe it's probably our responsibility to go do something great in the name of Sreejon. So my friends, I just leave you with some words of wisdom that come from probably one of the greatest servants we've ever known, named Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. See, because he talks about being great. He knows a little bit something about that. I think if he were here this evening, he would say that there's something great going on here in our community. See, because Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. says that everybody can be great because anybody can serve. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and verb agree to serve. All you need is a heart full of grace and a soul generated by love. Everybody can be great because anybody can serve. And my friends, I think that there's great things going on here tonight. Thank you for being here.